Welcome to Facing Stories. I'm kidding. I'm totally not going to start the thing like that. But we're live right now. I'm here with Kira Childers, a good friend of mine, a former neighbor. We've pounded a lot of Pizza King pizza together with our families. Our daughters are good friends. Hi, Kira. How's it going?
Great. How are you, Kelsey?
Good. So Kira's participated in several different facing projects. She in facing autism and facing disabilities as a writer and a photographer. Kira, I thought maybe right off the bat, if you could kind of share your experiences and maybe some stories from each of those projects.
Sure. So, Facing Autism was the first time I did photography for the Facing Project, and it's always a challenge to some families, with kids who are autistic are uncomfortable with a typical kind of photo shoot because they're concerned about their child's behavior. They're concerned like what's going to happen, how are they going to react to this, and so what I tried to do was, for the ones who were comfortable with me actually interacting with them and having them really know I was taking their picture. I did that, and there was a boy, I believe his name's Carter, who just had so much fun kind of directing me and saying, no, I want you to take a picture of me over here. No, I want you to do this. Now this is my best angle, so could you take this right here? And that was a ton of fun. So, but then for the other ones who maybe weren't so comfortable with that, I almost felt like a wildlife photographer as I kind of hung back and just waited for that moment, which is something that I do a lot of anyway when I photograph, particularly lifestyle type sessions, because it is all about finding that moment and knowing, when that moment is right to capture the emotion that you're seeing.
Uh-oh, Kira, can't hear you. Try talking again.
Oh no, are
Oh,
you
no,
okay now?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll point out a couple of the photos. I remember from Facing Autism, several of the moments.
Yeah.
I had the book on my shelf, so I thought I'd grab them. Here's Carter, right there, and I remember him taking Kira
Yeah.
and Amy, who's another photographer, off on just a wild photo shoot, and like, where'd our photographers go? And all of a sudden we look,
Oh
and
yeah.
Carter's like posed beside like a dumpster or something, and just like really hammered.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really like the dumpster shot of him. I can't believe you didn't put that in the book, but it's okay.
Right. I think that was
I mean,
JR's decision, so you can blame him.
okay, yeah, we'll blame JR for that one.
Yeah, he's probably our only viewer at this moment, so
Hi, JR.
he can take the hit for that. And another photo that I remember kind of stands out too is I think kind of speaks to what you said there at the end. That's Belinda and her son Gabe.
Yep.
They're just like hanging
Yeah.
out, and blowing bubbles, and I think that was kind of neat.
hmm Yeah, yeah, he was definitely not one that I would have felt I felt better, just letting him interact with his mom and,
Yeah.
not just stick a camera in his face and be like, hey, look at
Well, even
me,
in your
so.
I feel like even in your photography with just like your family photography. So I mean, there's more pictures. Right. Let's see. Right there, you took that picture, and you took that picture.
Hi, Harper. Hi, Kirby.
Yeah. So, and then those are all kind of just like moments that you kind of capture. So like, what is the secret to trying to just get people at ease and comfortable and just being kind of normal and not like in the total cheese phase? Kira, are you there? Oh no, I can't hear you again. Google, what are you doing to us? Kira, oh no. Where'd you go? Well, JR, if you're listening, I'm not sure the Google Hangout is the best format. I don't know. I'm 0 for 2. Kira, why don't you try, if you're still on there and can hear me, why don't you try leaving the call and coming back in using that link that I gave you?
Hey,
Oh, I can hear you now.
yeah, I'm on my phone now. I was on
You're on
my
your
laptop.
phone now?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm like talking with two Kiras. Now there's the phone Kira, and then there's just a picture of you
Yeah,
over to the
that's
side. So
kind of the picture I was hoping we wouldn't have to look at, but that's okay.
Yeah. No, it's a picture. It's like it's frozen. You're frozen.
Oh, that's
Screenshot.
weird.
It's not that picture.
Oh,
It
okay.
obviously did not change. Maybe that will show up somewhere else. I don't know. Now
Oh,
everyone wants to know, right? Like, what is that? What is that picture? Anyhow, I'm not sure where I lost you. Um,
I don't know.
I had just asked you about how do you make people feel at ease to kind of catch those like real life shots.
Well, I try to get people talking about stuff that that kind of matters to them, or tell me stories about things that their family did. And for me, it's easier to shoot people that I know. And so one of my goals for this year is to work on ways that I can get to know the people I shoot better as I do it, so that I feel like they are my friends, and I feel like I know, like, hey, that's not that kid's real smile right there. That's kind of a fake one. Or, I wanted to kind of try to capture more of those details and get to know people a little bit better.
So, I mean, that's really interesting because I think of the Facing Project stories where we match, a writer up with someone
Mhm.
that you've never really met before, and you have to
Right.
get to know that person so well that you're writing as them. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
very similar thing. So, I mean, what have you been thinking about? Like what kind of questions will you ask, or how will you get to know them and get
Yeah.
them to?
I think that, when something this is hard to explain, but it's like when you know somebody, you know things that they didn't tell you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes when people tell you things about themselves, they're telling you what they wish they were, or they're telling you like what they hope to be, or they're telling you something that isn't really who they are. So sometimes just asking people questions isn't necessarily the way. Like it's good to see them interact with other experiences and know about what they do, just in the community or around with their families or other things to help you understand who they truly are.
So, do you how much of yourself do you end up talking about? Because I found that in order to get something from people to get them to share your story, like how much of your story do you share? Do you
A
do
lot.
that very often? Or do you feel like that's not necessary?
No, I do that all the time because I think that, if somebody sees me being open and me being willing to kind of just lay it out there, I think that makes them feel more comfortable. Or if I can tell that somebody's feeling nervous or intimidated, I work to do what I can to encourage them, or to help them feel like they can be, it's okay. Like I want them to feel like they're safe with me, I think, like as a person.
Yeah. So on the Facing Disabilities project, you had to meet up with a mother with a grown son
Yeah.
with a disability, and so what was that? Was that a kind of a comparable experience, meeting someone for the first time, taking their photos, or what was that experience like?
It was something I honestly I was a little bit nervous about. I think just because I didn't know what to expect, and I think I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find commonality with her to empathize. I think that was the thing that was making me the most nervous. Like I wouldn't say like, well, can I say like I don't have a disabled child. Can I relate to her? But what I found was that we had a lot more in common than I would have actually expected. And it was a really neat experience to, just watch her share the joy that she had in her child. It was so cool. She came with a whole binder full of pictures of him from when he was a baby, all the way up until, pretty recent. And she was kind of uncomfortable about talking about herself a little bit. And I think I understand that because I think she spent a lot of time in her life just being a giver and giving so much to a lot of different people. Because in addition to Jason, she takes care of her elderly mother and her elderly aunt with not a lot of help from other people. And she herself suffered from breast cancer and had, this whole other story of her own life going on at the same time, but she didn't really focus on that. She was very matter of fact when she talked about things, but I really enjoyed going through that album of pictures with her. I mean, just because, well, of course I love pictures, but but it was really relatable to me just to see, oh look, here he is with his favorite stuffed animal, and oh, this was the bike that he used to like to ride all the time, and this is his brother, and this is Christmas, things like that.
Oh, now the picture just popped up for a brief second on my screen.
Okay. Yikes! I know. I'm on my phone now, so I'm getting all this like meeting requests and stuff.
Oh, that's weird. Shoot, what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say one thing I found too in interviewing people is exactly what you said, like getting them doing something.
Mhm.
Whether that's, I remember one of the facing projects I did, the very first one in facing poverty, the storytellers whose story that I wrote, we just went for a drive around Muncie, and she showed me all the places that meant something to her. Or so I think the same thing, like flipping through a photo album. And
I'm so glad you had that, because that to me was just, it was such a neat experience to see him through how she saw him. And I think that helped. The visual there was just really, really helpful.
So you told Joyce Klein's story about her son Jason. So there's the photo.
Yep, there he is.
And so when was the last time you had written? I mean, your writing background, I mean, you majored in English or creative writing, right?
Yeah, I was an English major, and I was a creative writing and history minor. So I did a lot of writing in college, like 20 to 20 plus papers, stories, like a semester. I mean, just lots and lots and lots of writing and reading, which was awesome because those are my favorite things. But I hadn't really written like anything really since college. I mean, I do some writing for my job, but it's not creative writing. You know, I write things like training documents or, you know, technical things. And I mean, I work at a software company, and I'm in HR, so I facilitate things. And but I do some training involvement still. So it was really cool to do that again, because my favorite kind of writing is exactly what the Facing Project is, which is kind of like creative nonfiction. You know, it's a story, but it's how you remember it. You know, memoirs are like my favorite genre. I love them. I just love that stuff so much, and that was my favorite writing class in college. So it was just a neat experience to be able to tell a story with words again, although I feel like I do still tell stories every time I photograph anybody.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So what is your philosophy as a storyteller, whether it's with or if you have one, don't feel like, whoa, this is what it is, but maybe you don't have one.
Maybe I need one, Kelsey, I don't know.
If someone asked me that, I'm not sure what I would say, but do you have a philosophy as a photographer, as a storyteller, as a writer, that you feel like kind of permeates your work?
You know, I think that I just want to show things as they are. You know, I want to, when I take a photograph of somebody, I want to see them. I don't want to see who they want to be or who they hope to be. I just want to see who they are truly. And that might mean that they're not perfect and things aren't perfect. And, you know, nothing looks like, you know, some styled family photo shoot from Pinterest. You know, it might not look like that. You know, I just want someone to look at a photograph and see the person in it and say, that's who she is. That's my goal as a photographer. So I guess my philosophy is to tell a story, is I want to tell the story that shows who that person truly is, and, you know, their feelings as much as I can.
So I'm going to show you a picture. Let me find it real quick, and I want you to tell me the story about this picture.
Okay.
It shows, I'm sure you know what picture I'm going to show you.
I think I do.
Oh, maybe I'll find it in here at some point.
You didn't bookmark it before our call?
I didn't bookmark it. I just thought of it. See, I don't prepare much.
It's okay. I don't either. I'm not very good at that.
So, and that's one thing we talk about even when we advise people on Facing Project interviews, is to don't over prepare for it. You know, because you want to. You know, like I have like a couple things I want to talk about with you. It's scribbled, and I can't hardly read them anymore. But I really feel like it's really important to listen to people and conversation, you know, where it goes.
Well, I think listening is more important than talking in many situations, especially when, you know, I mean, I think like with Joyce, when I met with her, I remember just thinking like, I don't need to say anything. Like she can just talk and I can just write notes. And if I have a question, this is her story, you know. I mean, this isn't about me. If I can say something that would help her feel more comfortable with me, I want to do that. But you know, I'm not controlling this conversation. This is not about me. This is about my ability to listen to her and then let her story flow through me in my interpretation.
So I think it's awesome. She was it her idea to bring in the photos?
Yeah, I had no idea she was going to do that. Like, she showed up in this binder. I mean, it was like this thick. You know, so it was really cool. I mean, she's very organized. I mean, if my poor children, like, if I was like, do you want to see some pictures of my kids? I'd be like, oh.
So Facebook is still alive and well, and like.
If Facebook isn't, I'm screwed.
Like 40 years, you know, because they're like, oh, you can go back. My timeline goes back 30 years on Facebook.
Yeah, then maybe there'll be some pictures of them. Otherwise, I'm like, yeah, they're on some hard drive somewhere. I don't know. I'm trying to print more pictures of my kids.
Yeah.
So.
I think Joyce's story, just from a mother's perspective, or a mother, like I'm a mother to two children,
Mm.
and um,
You're
no,
great.
I gave birth. You don't know the
You know.
struggle of that. Now I'm going to get myself in trouble. Um, no, but like the thing I found most powerful about Joyce's story was the fact that she was kind of pulling back from her son. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so this was really interesting, and I hope this doesn't turn into too long of a story, but um, when before I actually met with her, I was talking to another girl who was a writer for the project, and she was telling the story of one of Jason's caregivers, and she told me, she said, you might want to talk to Trisha about this story because she was telling me that Jason's mom doesn't come to visit and, all this stuff about his mom, and I was like, okay. I didn't talk to her. But then after I met with Joyce and I heard her story and talked about, part of the reason why she doesn't come and see Jason as much is because, first of all, I mean, she has other demands on her life. She has an aging mother. She has an aging aunt that she has to take care of. She had breast cancer, but during that time, the doctors advised her, you need to stop taking Jason home with you and, help him to understand that Hillcroft is his home now and this is where he's going to be because you won't always be here for him. And, I think that to me was really powerful and it was hard on her because she had always taken him for weekends and he would come home and went to his bedroom and but he's very comfortable at Hillcroft and so even after she started doing that after he'd been at Hillcroft he would want to go back there. I mean he really did enjoy it, but in places he had been before, I mean home was still a refuge for him, so I think it was really hard for her to not do that anymore. And as a mom, just to say like, oh gosh, like what am I supposed to do, but to think about that reality that she won't be there forever and he'll still have people that need to take care of him. So he has a brother, but his brother lives in California and he comes and visits when he's here, but it's not like he's local. And so Hillcroft has kind of become Jason's family, but it's just interesting how there's that perspective where to someone it looks like she's never there, well there's a reason that
Yeah.
she's not there as much as maybe she'd even want to be. So
Yeah, and I mean, not to get too deep here, but when you kind of think about like our mortality, that
mhm,
those of us who have kids, like we kind of live on in
right,
some way, and how that comes with hope. But in Joyce's situation, that is kind of a frightening scenario. Like, I mean, because
yeah,
what's his life minus her, and I got a lot of the folks whose stories we told in Facing Disabilities, they were like grown
right,
adults, and a lot of their parents have to be, and we saw that in the stories. A lot of their parents are kind of facing that, like what is life like when I'm not their primary caretaker, when they live off on their own, or someday I won't even be here. And I think
yeah.
something that the rest of us don't really think about.
No, I mean, when you know that your child doesn't have their full independence and that you are their advocate and you are their, maybe not their primary caregiver if they're in a situation like Jason is, but it's everything still running through you. He's 40 some years old, but it runs through you, and that I think to me that would be terrifying as a parent to know that someday you would have to release that kind of control and that
Hmm.
you won't be there and you just have to hope that everything's okay.
I also think that story for me. I remember you telling me about that, about the individual at Hillcroft having, and I mean, I would probably, if I were that individual, I would probably think the exact same thing.
Yeah,
If this
I
guy's
would.
mind never comes, and
Yeah, I
just
totally would too.
the need for us to try to see things from other people's perspectives, and we're judging a situation that we don't necessarily know, and we all do that. And I think that's
Hmm.
something we can really learn from that story
Yeah.
of how you collected it and what kind of came about in the
Oh
process.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, I'm glad that I didn't talk to her, although it would have been interesting to talk to her. But I was kind of coming at it from the philosophy of like, I don't want to pollute what Joyce tells me with anybody else because this is her story. Her story doesn't include the opinion of someone else, but it's just interesting to see how that stuff plays out. And I mean, there's a quote, and I wish I would say it better than I'm about to, but about how you can't hate somebody after you know their story. And I think
Mhm.
that that to me, I mean, the Facing Project is so important for so many reasons, but I think that really encapsulates a lot of why it's so meaningful. Because if you know somebody's story, it changes your whole perspective on them. They're not just this faceless person who does something that you don't like or does something that maybe you don't agree with or whatever. They're a person, and everybody's fighting a hard battle. We just don't always know about it.
Yeah, I love that awkward feeling when you have like a preconceived notion that maybe you didn't even know you have, and and I find that in so many of the stories that get written around the Facing Project is like that happens, or with Carter, the photo shoot, that was something I wasn't expecting. So I found the photo.
Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, yes. These are two brothers, and they both have intellectual disabilities, and they live at Hillcroft together. They don't have any, and their parents are gone, no family really. And when we photographed them together, one of their caregivers was there, and she said, "Hey, these two are brothers," which you can kind of totally tell by looking at them. But, and she said, "You know what? I don't think I've ever seen a photo of them together." And I remember thinking, wow, do we understand that, photography is a privilege? I don't know if I'd ever thought of it that way, but, these guys aren't going to call somebody and set up a photo session. They're not going to. Like, and a lot of times adults don't even think about that. Like, just any adult, they're like, who cares? There's pictures of me, whatever. It doesn't matter. But nobody there that day remembered ever seeing a picture of these two together. And so it was just kind of it was an emotional moment for me just to think about that and to go like, gosh, well, these are brothers, they don't even have a picture together. So it just made me think, wow, that's an honor to be able to do that for them. And they were really excited about it. And there was another brother sister pair, you can probably find them in there too. I remember her name was Rachel, but she was so excited about the picture with her brother too because she didn't really have anything like that. Yeah, that's them. So she was pretty jazzed about that. So, just thinking like the level of excitement that they were showing because of that was just it was really neat. Really neat.
There's a really cool organization I think I've told you about called Help Portrait that does photos. I think once a year in December they do family photo shoots, and that's what really got me excited about pulling in photographers. Because when the Facing Project first started, we thought it was just going to be just writers, but we've had artists and photographers in there now, and I think the photography is such an important aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
And so you ended up taking the cover image for Facing Disabilities as well. And how do you control and wrangle a photo? Do you have any tips for someone that's trying to introduce what's happening here, or what worked and what doesn't work, or if you should have someone helping you, or how they can help wrangle?
Okay, you always need help. Help is huge. But I would say that probably the number one thing that photo shoot taught me, because when you're a photographer, you have things, times, places, environments, things that you like to control a little bit. Well, we didn't have that because, I can't just be like, okay, everyone in the Facing Disabilities Project, show up here 45 minutes before sunset, which is a great time to shoot. You can't do that. You can't schedule stuff like that. So, the lighting conditions and that time of day are not my favorite. They're not necessarily the easiest to work with. I think that the number one thing for me just at that moment was, hey, just let go and kind of just have fun and see what we can do with this. And I think we did. But we had, all of the people there helping were so helpful because I didn't know any of them either. But, I wanted to try to spend a little bit of time with them. We were under some time constraints too because, you can't just have 40 people or whatever hanging out. And it was really hot that day. I mean, really hot too. So, we're outside, it's like blazing sun, everybody's sweating. I mean, it was crazy, but it was fun. And I just was so happy that we were able to do that. But we definitely had some wranglers, some helpers, some people kind of helping me understand the different personalities of the people who were there. So that was huge for me because if I had just come upon them, without knowing them at all, I wouldn't have known what to even talk about to get them to engage with me. I wouldn't have known that. And so having Brenda was a huge help during that time for me especially. So there's a picture, I think it's Jerry, and if you can show that one that's in there, she was just really cracking him up when we were taking pictures, and he was definitely posing for me a little bit. It was funny. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I'm trying to figure it out. I don't remember them all. It's been Oh, yeah, there it is. This one.
Yeah, yeah, that's him. And I had another picture of him where he was kind of like leaning up against something like, hey.
Oh, okay. I think it's the one that made the back.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that one. And then there was, I think, one that maybe you guys, again, you don't ever put the ones I
One that
like.
we
I don't
didn't.
know what's going on here, Kelsey. No, I'm
There's
just kidding.
one that JR didn't include. That guy. Hey, JR, actually, if you're on here and listen, see if you can chime in. See if you can kind of join our call. I don't know if it's possible or not. We'll figure it out. But
Goodness knows I don't know if it's possible, but
yeah.
anyway, so that was really, really helpful just to have somebody there who could kind of give me some insight into their personalities and the things they liked and, you know, maybe what would make them feel more comfortable because they don't know me either. I mean, I'm like this sweating blonde weirdo with a camera who's like, hey, look at me, you know?
So there you kind of had people. So when you do like a one-on-one photo shoot, it's kind of you.
Yeah.
People photo. It's just you and like the people you're photographing. Is photoing a word?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
You can say shooting. It's not scary in this context.
You can say what?
You can say shooting. It's not scary in this context.
Oh, okay. Shooting, but not photoing. I think photoing should be whatever.
I shoot people. Yes.
So, but to kind of like really kind of make those bonds quickly, just to have someone who is familiar with this person already, knows what to say, knows how to interact with them. Because you still really captured, even though it was hot, it was sweaty, we had time constraints, like you still really managed to capture like genuine moments of like siblings that were engaging with one another. It still wasn't a 3, 2, 1 like cheese. Well,
I think that's just always, you know, that's not what I want. I mean, I think people like those pictures and they have a place. They have a place in a lot of people's hearts, and I think for a reason. But I just try to photograph emotion. And so when you look at the photograph, you feel something. And, you know, so part of that is just watching and waiting sometimes, which is hard when you don't have a ton of time, which we didn't that day.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it was boiling hot. People were kind of on a schedule. So, you know, I felt really fortunate to be able to capture the moments that I did, just because, you know, it wasn't the ideal situation, but it ended up turning out really well. And it taught me that you don't need to have everything, you know, like how you would want it. Or, I mean, I'm really not a control freak, I promise. But, you know, sometimes you like to have things a certain way because it makes it easier for what you're comfortable with. And so I think that this shoot, even way more than the autism shoot, pushed me out of my comfort zone, which is a good thing.
So you think you'd like to be a writer and photographer again for the Facing Project?
Absolutely, I'll do it again.
Kind of our unofficial, staff of photographers. I don't know if you knew that or not. It really doesn't come with any benefit whatsoever.
Hi, JR. I see you're here now.
Hey, Kira, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm awesome.
So, Kira, can you see JR?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've been watching all along. You guys have been doing a great job.
Oh, now you're going to ruin it. Do you have any questions you want to ask Kira? Because I think I was getting kind of, I was getting bored of Kira and just whatever. So I'm kidding.
Yeah, I've been tweeting out different pieces of the interview, quotes from you, and putting it on social media. So hopefully we're not just talking to ourselves here. But you've probably heard Kelsey and I talk about Axis of Awesome, which is this phrase that Kelsey coined in many ways that talks about something that you're good at, which in your case would obviously be photography and also writing, and that's something that also interests you. But marrying that with something that you're curious about in the world, and really where those things intersect, that coupled with the biggest challenge you've ever faced in your own life, how do you see the work that you've done with us around the Facing Project fitting into your axis of awesome? And what has it brought out in you that has surprised you?
Well, I think that, you know, I do like giving back a lot, and it's given me a really neat way to give back with photography. So number one, I mean, I think that's been huge for me because it's, you know, sometimes you're like, well, how do I turn this into something that can really help somebody or help people? You know, I mean, I think everybody values memories just for their intrinsic value to them, like as people. You know, you take a picture of somebody and they're going to value it because it's their kid or their spouse or whatever. But when you can, you know, take photography and actually use it for something that can be so impactful to the community, I mean, I think that's just really cool. And then as far as writing is concerned, I mean, I was just happy to be writing again because it's been so long. I really love to write. It's something that, I just haven't really had a chance to do as much, as I've gotten older and gotten busier and, done other things. So for me, that was really neat. And also just learning about something that I don't know a lot about. I'm a super curious person, and it's kind of a downfall of me a little bit because I'm curious about everything and I want to learn about everything. And so sometimes that is kind of lends itself to distractibility for me. But because I'm so curious, like all these different topics and like hearing people's stories and, trying to understand, where they're coming from and just using that to kind of broaden your worldview and create empathy for people, I think is why the Facing Project is so cool. And it's why I love it and why I think the work that you guys are doing is just really, really valuable. Did that answer your question, Chair?
Absolutely. And I didn't mean to come off very structured on that. By any means. But when I was just hearing you talk, it made me think of a couple other things. So one, and we've heard this from other people as well, including myself, when Kelsey did the first Facing project ever, when he really created the model around this and invited me in as a writer. And I, too, having a creative writing background, hadn't used that skill set in a long time. And it really reinvigorated something in me creatively that had been missing for so long. Which got me to blog more, which got me to write in my journal more. So talk a bit about how you've had a similar experience, if you have. And the other piece of that is how has it helped you become more interested in being involved in volunteer organizations in the community?
Well, it's definitely opened my eyes to a lot of opportunities that we can have to get involved in the community, and to see people doing good things, I think inspires everybody to want to become more involved. I think that for me, photography has been a huge creative outlet for me. I've always been interested in photography, but I've only been really, really serious about it for 3 to 4 years now. I had an SLR that was a film one, way back in the day, and I worked in my high school yearbook, and I did all these things, but I didn't really get into it as much until the last couple of years. And so I think for me that's been a huge way to express creativity. And I miss writing. I haven't gotten to where I want to blog all the time or anything, mostly because I don't know that I have anything to say that people would want to necessarily read.
Sure you do.
But I think that it has shown me that I can still do it, and I still do really enjoy doing it. And I want to try to find more opportunities to do that. So it's just been a neat way to express myself creatively that I have been missing, I think. And it's one of those things you don't know how much you missed it until you do it again. And then you're like, oh, yeah, I can write something without a bulleted list.
I have a question.
It's exciting.
I don't know if we're supposed to raise our hands now. There's multiple people. I'm going to raise my hands. What's the Hunger Games one? That's also Boy Scouts, but anyhow. So the question I have, Kira, is like you said that you got into photography like about 3 years ago. Did that have it? So you have two daughters. Did that really kind of inspire the photography, or was it something else that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that like I said, I've always kind of been into it, but just something I don't even know what it was, but I was just like, I want to learn more about this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, like I want to know what I'm doing, and I want to really be able to do this. I had a lot of photographers that their work I admired, and I thought, I want to try to do as well as I can, and I want to develop my own style. I want to develop I just had this thing where I just wanted to express myself creatively with it. And so I'm pretty much entirely self-taught, and I feel like I've grown a lot in the last 3 years, thank goodness. But I want to continue with that just because now, I love photographing my own kids. I love it. I do it a lot. I mean, I'm doing a Project 365 this year, so every day I have to take a picture of something in my life. It doesn't have to be them; they're just there. So it's like,
I would like to see more pictures of Ryan.
Yeah.
I think he's a photogenic guy. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. I think you should have more photos of him.
If I get a picture of him in there, it's probably going to be him being like making some face or something. I don't know. He's
who are the photographers? Who are the photographers that you admired, and kind of what did you see in their work that kind of spoke to you?
Again, I really like just photographers who who show more of that emotion, and you look at an image and you just really feel like, wow, I see something, I feel something when I look at that. And I wasn't there at the time that I started admiring those kind of people, and I had cute pictures of my kids, but there wasn't something that told a story, I think. And so I feel like I've gotten better at telling stories through images, and that's what I want to continue doing.
I want to see if I can show pictures of your Facebook page. I think I can. Let's see if this works. Where is it? I saw it earlier. Here we go. Screen share. Entires. Oh, here we go.
It's impressive watching you guys do all this technical stuff.
Wait till we start putting on hats.
Oh, are you gonna put something silly on my face right now?
Maybe.
But don't go to my business page. I haven't used it in forever. Go to my personal page.
Oh, I was gonna put the pictures of the kids. Okay.
Oh,
so,
well, you can show your own kids if you want to. That's fine.
Okay. Let's see. This is the first time I've ever done this. Screen share. And entire screen. Now it's, oh my heavens, what is that mess?
Beautiful.
Wow, it's like this going on forever. Okay, never mind. Anyhow, so where can people learn more about your work, and where can they see you? Is it the best place just friending you on Facebook?
I'm kind of like stealth, I guess. I haven't posted anything on my Facebook page for a long time, just for a variety of reasons. I've been working on stuff, but I just haven't. And I want to do like a real website, but again, this is more, I mean, it's a hobby for me. I technically have a business, but it's really, I just look at it as kind of a self-supporting hobby, because photography is only slightly less expensive than like crack cocaine.
Yeah. So was that an IRS disclaimer? I technically have a business. It's a business. It's not a hobby, IRS. That's okay.
Technically, but yeah, I mean, it's, you could check out my Facebook page. It's just Kira Childers Photography. Someday I'll have a big girl website. Someday I'll get that done. And if you're friends with me on the actual Facebook, you can see I put a lot of stuff out there. Mostly is where I share that stuff. So I don't know. I probably need to be better about public sharing. I'm not very good at it.
365 project, you share all your camera settings. Do you, when you shoot, do you usually use like totally manual or certain auto settings, or what do you usually do?
I usually shoot in full manual, just because it's probably not as easy as it would be to shoot in one of the priority modes, but I'm used to it, and it just makes sense for me right now. So that's why I share my settings, is because I want people to see, if there was a photographer looking at it, they would know, they would understand that and say like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't think of doing it that way, or, oh, look at, the setting, or I don't know. I just do it to be like transparent, I guess, and helpful. I do edit in Photoshop, but I don't do a ton of work, honestly, like post-production, or post-processing. I don't do a ton of that. So I try to get it right in camera, but it doesn't.
Unless some difficult clients like, I don't like my head in that shot. Could you please give me a different head, such as my wife?
Is your wife watching this right now? Is she happy with you?
There's one photo I can't look at. It might even be in here. You can't tell, though. But isn't this the one that you replaced Annie's head?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay. Is that like not some kind of like...
Yeah, so typically people are like, can you head swap my kids, or I'll head swap a kid? And Annie's like, you got it. She's like, ever since this person told me that my smile looks like I'm in pain, I can't not think that. Can you fix it? I might have just done a smile swap. I don't even know that I did her whole head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just to make her look like she wasn't in pain, because she thought she was, so.
So is that someone else's smile? Is that even her mouth?
No, it's her. No, it's her smile from a different picture.
Mona Lisa's. That's Mona Lisa's.
I just put my smile on her, like my lips, like, hey, Annie, this is what Annie looks like. She wouldn't have been happy with me then either, for sure. But
Jared, do you have anything else? feel like we should get close to let Kira go here.
Yeah, I really have one last question. So as the Facing Project has spread across the country to different communities, and we're starting to create college chapters. So we have younger individuals who are really interested in writing and even doing photography. So what words of wisdom would you have for those folks who are kind of new to this or new to photographing people who are telling their stories for Facing projects? What would really be your advice to them?
I would say that, if you're new to it, the thing you can do the most is just shoot everything you can all the time. Anything. Whatever you want to do, just do it all the time because you will get better. And it just takes a lot of experience. Like there's this quote from Ira Glass, and I used to have it in my office, and I don't have it here right now, so I'm going to screw it up if I try to say it, but it basically, and I think, Kelsey, I think you know this one too, but it's basically just says that he wishes that somebody would have told him when he was getting started in creative work how much work he would have to do to get where he wanted to be. And 3 years into my serious photography journey, where I feel like I'm just now starting to approach the place that I wanted to be like 3 years ago. And I say just now starting to approach because I'm not there yet, but I feel like it's closer. Like I can see, I can look back and see growth, but the thing that's really important is the thing that you have to do, and what this quote says is you have to just do a lot of work. That's what you have to do. You're never going to get there if you're just sitting there going, gosh, I wish I could shoot like this person, or gosh, I wish my photographs look like hers. You just have to get out there and do it. And, you have a unique perspective. You have your own view on the world, and the things you see you can share with people, but you have to do a lot of work before it's going to get to where you still, because you have good taste as a creative person, you know what you want something to look like.
Oh gosh.
What in the world?
So we have too much fun. We're like children.
Mm-hmm.
We do this. I like to go with a random one.
Also the cat. Oh my goodness. You guys are too much.
No.
So anyway, my advice would be do a lot of work, shoot everything you can, tell your story, that you have a unique perspective on life and that world. Nobody else has your eyes. So I cannot take JR seriously at this moment.
Well, I promise I won't ask any more questions while wearing this. The sad part is I don't know how to take it off, so it's kind of...
All right, hey, cool, Kira, thanks. The audience loved you. We know so much about technology. It's just amazing. So if you want to learn more about the Facing Project, you can go to facingproject.com. Look for Kira on Facebook and her 365 project. I don't know, do you just welcome all followers on Facebook?
Yeah, you can follow me.
Okay.
So.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, JR, Clown Cat. That's what you were yesterday. That's like your go-to is the Clown Cat goatee guy. So
I like it. I feel like I get my best creative inspiration while dressed as a cross between Bozo and a character from Cats.
Well, hey, Kira, thanks so much for your time. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this broadcast thing here. And thanks to all those thousands of viewers who have joined us.
Thank you.
Yep.